Alright guys, I'm back with my review of this week's episode of Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory Season 3, Episode 5, Skinwalker. And I didn't really think this episode was one of the best ones they've done. It was okay, but there was a lot of stuff in this episode that just felt really silly. And what I'm talking about in particular is that entire radio scene with Terrell and Sean Stone where they're hearing voices from the radio. That was a bit much for me. But I really like the paranormal type stuff. So I was really interested in watching this episode. I thought it could have been better. But it still has some entertaining stuff this week. I'm not trying to poke fun at stuff people believe or anything like that. So I just talk about what I see on the show. So I can't really say for certain anything about this Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know a lot about it. But this is a TV show, and they do try to set things up for drama. So you have to keep that in mind when you watch something like this. But I do plan to do maybe some other paranormal videos in the future. The alien stuff, I've never actually seen anything weird like that before myself. But I also have heard different accounts. Some people say that there are aliens out there, and a lot of people say that the aliens are just a form of disinformation, and that the government stages these UFOs so that people will talk about that and not pay attention to what's really going on. Personally, I don't know. But anyways, on to this week's episode. It's really revolving around this guy, Robert Bigelow. That's what the entire episode revolves around. So it starts off and Jesse goes to see Mr. Big, is what he calls him. But there's more on that later. I just thought it was funny he calls him Mr. Big because I instantly thought of King of the Hill. I am Mr. Big when he's trying to trick Dale. But this guy comes to see Jesse about a conspiracy, and he says the government's going on these, or the government has abandoned these space exploration projects, and that these billionaires are taking over. They're doing whatever they want in space. They have their own space projects. He thinks these corporations, Black Ops programs, could be watching us from space, possibly communicating with aliens, and it's kind of like the Wild West, but in space, because it's just whoever has money can come claim stuff. So the team finds out about Robert Bigelow and how he's the only one allowed to take weapons into space. So they instantly realize this is the guy we have to find more information about and track down. Jesse says he could be employing illegal space aliens. And Terrell goes to see Dr. Ecker about Mr. Big, and he says that he's always been researching aliens. He's always had a fascination with aliens. And he wanted to start his own program to find proof of aliens and UFOs. But Bigelow had this ranch where UFOs were sighted, Skinwalker Ranch. And something happened there, something major, and it caused Mr. Bigelow to pull out of the project. So Sean Stone goes to see Dr. Rule, and he says that he's heard there are aliens in this Skinwalker Ranch that Mr. Bigelow bought, and that a lot of his men were killed and injured at this ranch, which is why Mr. Bigelow wanted to leave the place. He didn't want to stick around anymore because something happened here. There was an attack by the aliens and a lot of his men were killed. But he also brings up this incident in Brazil in 1977 where possibly 35 people were killed and injured in an alien attack. But it's classified, however it does make the Skinwalker Ranch attack seem more plausible. And he actually says that if you ask Mr. Bigelow about what he meant when he said people have been killed over this and injured, he's going to deny the Skinwalker Ranch attack and only talk about the Brazil attack and say that's what he was talking about. I haven't heard about this Brazil attack. It's definitely worth looking into. I thought it was really interesting. Jesse sends Sean and Terrell to Skinwalker Ranch. They stop to meet a reporter who wrote about the ranch, and he tells them to make sure they go on a very dark night. And this other guy meets them at the ranch, and he thinks that Bigelow is trying to get as much information on aliens so that he can recreate their technology and use it for his company to explore space themselves. And he refuses to go on the ranch. He thinks it's too dangerous. So this other guy, Ryan Skinner, takes them to the ranch. He decides he'll be their guide. And he says he's had an encounter every single time he's gone to the ranch. It's just a really weird place, and he always sees something strange up there. So Sean hops the fence and starts walking up the road to the ranch. And then he just turns around and comes back when he felt something attacking him. And this is where I'm just shaking my head like, are you serious? This is too much. Even for a show like this was too much. So then the cameras start acting up, and they're driving, and they hear these sounds on the radio saying, "Get off, true evil, true evil." And that's what the subtitles say. It didn't sound like that at all to me. It sounded just like some static. But they were freaking out. They hop out of the car, and they're like, "Did you hear what was on the radio?" And I don't know. It was just, that was a lot to take in. So Jesse finds out that Bigelow has these unseen backers, and he thinks maybe aliens are the unseen backers giving him money. Terrell and Sean see a UFO. They tell Jesse about this, and Jesse says, "You saw a what?" So even he's being really, really skeptical this entire episode. And they reported the UFO sighting, and they get told to see Mr. Bigelow. If you see an alien, a UFO, any type of sighting like that, it goes straight to Mr. Bigelow. So they go to his aerospace factory, and the logo is an alien, but they can't talk to Mr. Bigelow here, so they leave, and Jesse meets up with him at an aerospace meeting. He asks Mr. Bigelow if people are referred to him if they see a UFO sighting, and he says yes. He admits that, but that's all he can get out of him. He walks away really fast. However, Sean Stone comes up to him later, gets a lot more information from Mr. Bigelow, but it's nothing too revealing or anything. He asks him about the people getting killed and hurt, and he says that he was talking about the Brazil incident. So nothing really substantial here. Jesse goes to see Alex Jones, and he tells Jesse that Colonel John B. Alexander is the guy really behind all this, and Bigelow's just his front man. And he's actually been involved in all these crazy projects. He's inspired the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats, super soldiers that can walk through walls, the occult, all this crazy stuff this guy's been involved in through the government. And Alex Jones says he's one scary son of a bitch. So Jesse goes to see John B. Alexander. He goes to his house, and he tells Jesse the aliens theories, they're all bullshit. But he does say that the ranch, Skinwalker Ranch, is a strange place, and he doesn't want to talk about the ranch. And I thought that was really strange, how he just says the ranch, that's a weird place, and he says, I thought we weren't going to talk about that. So that was definitely kind of a red flag for him to say something like that. But both Alexander and Bigelow claim that the deaths were related to the Brazil incident. Nothing like that happened at Skinwalker Ranch. So Terrell and Sean get a call from this guy, Preston Dennett, who worked on a project Bigelow eventually took over. And he thinks that Bigelow is trying to flee the planet into this space station he's built. And he's got a rocket ship that can fit himself and a few friends, and that they plan to leave the planet because of an impending alien attack that they know about, leave the rest of us here, and go live in this space station. Now, I don't understand how a space station is going to protect you. If an alien invasion happens, how does a space station save you? The aliens could just blow it up on their way in or out. It really does nothing. Regardless of how much food and plants and a garden or something, even if you have all of that stuff up there, you would still end up getting screwed over somehow by these aliens who would surely be coming back. So that didn't really make any sense to me, like how they have this big conspiracy that Mr. Bigelow wants to leave the planet because of an alien attack. Like that would save him, just to orbit around the Earth. Like the aliens wouldn't notice this. So that was also kind of strange, but Jesse wraps it up by saying that he has no problem with Bigelow's fascination with aliens. It's his ties to the government that he's concerned about. and he doesn't want corporations taking over space. That's what worries him. And that's what I think is the major thing about this episode. It's not so much the alien stuff or the radio signals, true evil, and all that weird stuff. I think it's more the fact that the government has very close ties with this guy, and he's able to take weapons into space. I think that's the real issue in the episode. Not so much this weird alien stuff, but the fact that they could be taking weapons into outer space, and military forces, who knows what they could be doing up there with like Black Ops programs and things like that. So I think that's definitely a bigger thing to be concerned about than an alien invasion. But anyways, that's just my take on it. So that's my review of this week's episode of Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory. There's only 2 episodes left. I can't remember what the next episode's going to be. It's something about the government manipulating people's brains or something like that. So, but yeah, this was an entertaining episode. So I hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on this week's episode in the comments, and thanks for watching.